Hello everyone, my name is Antoine and welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time since I uploaded here, but I finally had both the time and the content to share with you guys today. And in this video, I'll walk you through the restore process for Apple Watches from Series 7000 all the way up to the Series 8, including the first gen Apple Watch Ultra. If you remember, I previously made a video on how to connect an Apple Watch without a dongle using the iPhone 6s charging flex, and that video got a lot of views, and you can still, of course, check it out. I'm going to include it on top of the screen as a bubble, and I will leave, of course, the link in the description as well. Of course, for restoring Apple Watches, obviously you need somehow to basically connect the watch through to your laptop, which is basically using a dongle. But this video will basically focus mainly on the software side, which is basically providing the IPSW files for watchOS. And this is basically for the period November-December 2025, which we currently have the watchOS 26 available for Series 6 and newer. And of course, you can see I have a Apple Watch Series 4 right now that I'm going to show you that there is basically a kind of a port to connect the dongle with, but in Series 7, you don't have that, which is basically you need a wireless restore dongle like the AWRT or the iBus X from MFC Box. And of course, this is not a sponsored video, but I'm going to also show you once we jump to my laptop, just to basically show you a couple of hints and show you and share with you, of course, the links for the IPSW for you to basically download them. And, of course, restore those files using iTunes or 3D Tools or any other software that is basically compatible with restoring Apple devices. So let's jump to my laptop. I'll show you all the signed IPSW links and share some interesting thoughts along the way. Okay, so here basically is our laptop. And first things first, if you like to have immediately the links for all the IPSWs over here, which are basically signed, you can just stop here and just go to the description, download the zip file that basically contains this TXT file, and basically just check all the links. All the links are basically working. There are some links that are not directly connected to the Apple links. You can see, for instance, like the Apple Watch Series 7000 for 38 millimeters and 42 millimeters, and the same goes with the 38 millimeters for Series 1 and 2, which are basically the same software. But, and the same goes for the Series 3, 38 millimeters GPS. For the rest, they are basically an Apple links up to the Apple Watch Ultra first gen, as I mentioned. And all the watchOSs are basically signed. You can see that the latest version for the watchOS Series 7000 is 4.3.2. For the Series 1 and 2, they're basically 6.3, which are basically the latest one signed. And for Series 3, we have the 8.8.1. And for the Series 4, we actually have different and variety of different watchOSs. But the main difference is basically when you try to sync or when you try to basically pair your Apple Watch with the correct iOS. Which is basically for the 9.6.3. I think it was with iOS, I don't know, I think iOS 16, if I'm not mistaken. And let me just double check. Just go, this is basically GSM Arena. You can just go to the Apple Watch, I think Apple Watch Series 8. It comes with, yeah, it came with watchOS 9. And it was basically in 2020, and I think it was the iPhone 14 with the iOS 16, which is basically, yeah. So this is basically kind of a minimum requirement. You will have some issues with pairing with the watchOS, with iOS 17 or iOS 18, but if you have like the latest iOS 26, you will definitely have some issues, and you need to basically pair it up with a little bit older iOS and then just update it to like watchOS 10 or 11 in order to basically pair it with watchOS, with iOS 26 or iOS 18 or something. So let's go a little bit deeper, which is basically to the Apple DB or Apple DB.developer. It's actually a great site that basically shows you what are the actual signed versions of watchOS. So as I mentioned, you have the watchOS 4.3.2, which is basically the latest one for the Series 7000 and Series 0, which we basically call them, which you can see it in status is signed, but it's only for Series 7000. As for the Series 1 and 2, you have the 6.3, which is basically over here signed. And the same goes with Series 8, 8.8.1. And of course, you will not have the full access to the full IPSWs. You have, of course, the zip files, which is basically the OTA or over the, I think over the cloud or over the air, I think, updates to the Apple Watches. So even if you try to like download a file or something like that, you can see it will have something else, which are basically a zip file with, and most of them are basically locked. So you will not basically have the access to go with a full restore with iTunes or 3 tools and so on. And you can see 10.6.1 is still signed, but unfortunately we don't have the IPSW for that for now. 11.6 also signed, and of course watchOS 26 and 26.1 are basically signed for the supported Apple Watches. As far as this video goes, which is basically for 2025 November-December month, so far all the watchOS that I'm going to include until the Apple Watch Ultra 1st Gen, which also includes, by the way, the SE 2nd Gen and 1st Gen, the 9.6.3 is still working and you can still restore, but there are some issues with the pairing, which is very important to for you to know. And yeah, this is basically for the Apple Watch, for you to understand basically when you try to restore and make sure that you basically get the correct watchOS. And of course, if you still don't have any older iOS devices, which are basically only iPhones that you can basically pair with it, you will obviously need an older one, or you need to somehow find the watchOS 11.6 or 11.6.1. If I have the files, or if I will have them in the future, I will of course upload them as well, or maybe make a kind of an updated video, maybe next year, because 9.6.3 is now signed for almost like 3 years, 2 years or something. So for some reason, Apple just keeps the 9.6.3 signed for a couple of time now, and it's actually very convenient and very good to have this kind of watchOS basically available. As for the dongles, as I mentioned, this is basically kind of the dongles that you will need to have for the Apple Watch Series 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on, and Ultra, Ultra 2, that basically supports the wireless connectivity in order to basically restore the actual Apple Watch. And of course, this is basically the kind of an older version, which is the same as I mentioned. If you don't have the money to that and you have the technical professionality to basically go with the Flex charging port to basically just solder it out, of course, you can go with it without basically paying $108 regarding that. As also we have with the MFC box, you can see they also have those files that are basically just supported by their own software, which is called, I think, MFC box. It's also available on Mac and available on Windows. And by the way, they are kind of the first company that basically gone with the actual Apple Watch dongles, and one of the first, of course, and the Restore and so on. And they have a powerful program going with. But the main thing that they have is basically, most of them are basically paid. All the files that you can see here in their sites, they are basically not compatible with like restoring with iTunes or 3 tools and so on. So in order to basically download those files, of course, you need an account. And before that, you also need a subscription in order to basically log in with your subscription to the MFC box and then basically restore the Apple Watch. Of course, you will have a much more access and much more options to go with the Apple Watch configuration and so on. But this is a topic for another day, and I'm not going to basically focus on it. But it's a little bit pricey comparing to just go with a Flex, charging Flex. And I think it's, of course, much secure because I mentioned a couple of things regarding the secure issue or security issues regarding like the connecting directly to the charging Flex. It's more of a night security issues, but kind of a technical, and it's not very secure to go with this one. But if you like to go with a much a better way, I would just basically suggest that you buy this kind of a dongles, which are basically like $100, and just go with the softwares that you have basically over here, or basically have them through the link that I basically gonna be sharing. So that's it for this video. I hope the IPSW links and explanation were helpful. To be honest, I'm going through a lot of changes in my career for the last couple of years, when the last time I posted a video on YouTube, and of course in my personal life right now, but I will keep posting helpful videos, even if they're not always about repairs or micro soldering, but I'll be always focusing on tech and of course keep you guys updating. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. And as always, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe to the channel for additional content in the future. Please always stay safe and have a good day. And I'll catch you guys in another video on my channel. Peace out.